Strange universe.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Are you a fan of rock and roll? Does it get your feet tapping and your hands clapping? Then be sure to check out Crypt Rick's Rock and Roll Hour every Friday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern and Standard Time on Studio B right here at RevolutionRadio.com, where we get down and talk all things rock.
This is the People's War. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You calm down the thunder, well now you got it.
Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me.
Revolution Radio.
Tune into Revolution Rainbow, Studio A for Omnium Gatherum, a kaleidoscope of discussion, Thursdays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 p.m. only at Revolution Radio. Tune into Revolution Radio, Studio A for Omnium Gatherum, a kaleidoscope of discussion, Thursdays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 p.m. only at Revolution Radio.
Extends life. The spice expands consciousness. The spice is vital to space travel. Travel.
Right on. Greetings, Earth Explorers, and welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is where the past meets the future, and in here the results are always positive. Now, we might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us as we endeavor to treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance. We are streaming to you live with our good friends at Revolution Radio, and this is the voice of the revolution. Remember, everything we do will eventually affect the universe, so we're going to try to do it on purpose tonight. Thanksgiving night. Chat room is already filling up, and our good friends at Revolution Radio are packing it in. Wow. Too many to mention. I'd have to scroll way up here, but I want to see who's first. Stanley Mays was first in. And let's see, we got K.O. Kelly out in Vegas. Gramanon. Bayonet is back. Dave's Waffle House. Who knew that Waffle House is one of my favorite places to eat? Open 24 hours a day, and they serve my favorite meal. Breakfast. Yes. Draperk is here. That's a new one. Let's see. Distant Sight, Tatanka Dave, Truth Refugees Monitoring, and Keep True and Pool Dude are in Foxhole, and there'll be more. You watch and see. You watch and see. Well, Scott Woolley's here. Good. Who's Jude's Mini? Yes, happy Thanksgiving Eve to you as well. So, hot in the news today, although, even though it's been covered, it hasn't, analysis really hasn't been done on it yet. There are comments here and there, but pretty much everybody's afraid to say anything, but I'm not. So, the top story is the D.C. shooting of 2 National Guard soldiers from West Virginia. Pretty tight-knit group, those West Virginia boys. There were a lot of them, several hundred of them, and there were about 127 of them volunteered to stay to the end of the year. They didn't have to. The rest of them went home, and these decided to stay. So they're great Americans out there doing the work of peacekeeping. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. And Washaki Wind is here. And the duty that they are doing is to walk around in uniform in groups of 4, men and women together. And they are not enforcing the law. They're just a presence. They're a deterrent. Sort of like, let's do this carjacking. Oh, no, we better not. There's 4 armed National Guardsmen right there. They're everywhere. They're just on patrol. And so one of the places that's normally pretty congested, it's a couple blocks north of the White House. It's near the train station. If you go there in the summertime, it's hotter than blue blazes and humid as hell, because that's where the train lets off. And then you got to walk a couple blocks to get to the congressional complex or the White House. And by the time you get there, you're drenched. So you have to find someplace to cool off for about 30 minutes before you actually have your meeting. But today, there were not that many people there because a lot of people had already bugged out for the long weekend. And so what happened was these 4 National Guardsmen were on duty and in an area that's not vacant of people. It's pretty congested on a normal day. A lone gunman, an Afghan national. We don't as yet know how he arrived. If he arrived on foot, we don't believe he arrived on the train. But he might have arrived on car, he might have taken Uber, he might have been dropped off by somebody, but he was a lone Afghan national. Walks up to these 4 National Guardsmen, yells Allahu Akbar, pulls a handgun out and starts shooting. And there were a lot of shots fired. We don't really know how many, but I'd say upwards of 30 rounds fired. The National Guardsmen had the basic body armor on, but that doesn't really protect you if there's a whole lot of gunshots that could get in the neck or in below where the vest hits you in the belly button, all of which are really bad places to get shot. So they went down. They're not dead as of this moment, but they are fighting for their lives. And the law enforcement in the area responding to the gunshots returned fire and downed the Afghan national. He is alive, and he is in the hospital, and he will be questioned as soon as he comes to. But that's the extent of the news coverage. And lots of salient questions are being asked, but not in the line of analysis of what's going on. Here's what we do know. We do know that there are Afghan and Islamic sleeper cells inside this country. They didn't come here with weapons, but they got weapons after they got here because there are organizations that are put together to arm them and to feed them and to transport them and to take advantage of their suicidal rage against Christians. Not so much against America, although they're here because this is the bastion of Christianity, but they're basically trying to take out Christianity. They're trying to start a war, not between Islam and the Democrats or Islam and the Republicans, but Islam and Christianity. Don't ever lose sight of that. So this is the strain that we see on the system, and this is sort of the beginning of what we call the Christmas season, air quotes, for those of you listening just by audio, on TalkStream Live through Orange Radio or iHeartRadio or the millions of other people that are out there listening. And I would look for attacks like this to happen in an ever more frequent basis. Why? Because they come from a blind spot. Even though there was a deterrent, even though there were patrols walking, armed patrols walking, this man had, well, if he had fear, he overcame it. And he stepped forward and tried to commit suicide by terrorism. And fortunately, he's going to stand trial for it instead of just immediately going to room temperature. And here's the sad realization. This is going to happen when there aren't National Guard present. Yeah, the National Guard are not present everywhere. They're not in Charlotte, right? They're largely not in every major city in the country except maybe LA, Chicago, New York, and D.C. And maybe Memphis, if that's the presence that they've got lingering. Not so much in Charlotte. ICE was here. They did their thing. They arrested a couple hundred, had some impact, but they needed to stay. We have 150,000 illegals in the Charlotte area, and they all need to be gone. I get you, Bruce, that room temperature is better. I'm with you. It's cheaper on the society if room temperature is better. But we need to understand where this guy came from, who sent him, who paid him, what was his pathway from where he was to where he ended up to do what he did. You have to realize that Huma Abedin, her father is basically the founder, not basically, he is the founder of the modern Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, this is a terrorist organization that's dedicated to the destruction of the United States of America. Huma Abedin marries George Soros' son. So now the RICO connection is complete through consummated sex, right? And hopefully President Trump's Department of Justice is using RICO powers to go after now and stop by seizure of their assets, this rich and powerful organization that's bent on a color revolution against the United States. But it has to start somewhere. The shooting has to start somewhere. And I think this is the beginning of it. And that's my analysis. So watch the news with this in mind, that this is not an isolated incident. This isn't just some lone wolf Afghan that decided to take revenge. This guy was pointed and shot like a weapon. And it just so happens that the West Virginia boys were in the sights of the gun. But it could have been anybody. It could have been you. It could have been a mall. It could have been a Christmas tree lighting. It could have been a Christmas parade. It could have been anything. And so keep your head on a swivel. And when you're in a public place, watch everybody, especially the people that, yeah, you can racially profile. You have my permission. True. Lucky points out that under Obama, these kinds of attacks, school shootings, concert shootings, were actually timed and coordinated with legislature or legal efforts against Barack Obama. Yeah, so they were, and anytime it looked like Barack Obama was going to lose some ground, you immediately began watching the entrances at the schools because a school shooting was coming, and just like clockwork, it did. Right, Stanley Mays. Everybody knows it's the land of suicide bombers. Quickest way to heaven, I suppose. Oh, good. Southeastern North Carolina. North Carolina is a very diverse state. For as small as it is, about 15 million people live here. And Western North Carolina, Central North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina, totally different demographics. Completely different. Eastern is fishing and everything to do with the coast and Gulf. Middle is industrial. We're right in the middle of Auto Alley. Car parts, space parts, all kinds of stuff made there, and education out the wazoo. And Western North Carolina is where the population comes to buy real estate and sprawl. I will cover that peace deal, distant sight. Don't worry about it. The Putin, Zelensky, Trump peace talks and where they are going and where they're not going. We'll talk about it. But I'd like to talk a little bit about the North Carolina voting map right now. It's kind of close to me since I'm here. And we have some confusing parts about our state politics. For a long time, we had supermajorities in the House and the Senate, so we could override governor vetoes, but that changed as redistricting happened under the Democrat governor's leadership. Yeah, go figure. We have all Republican congressmen, U.S. We have 2 Republican U.S. senators, and yet we have a Democrat governor. Go figure. How the hell does that happen? Nobody knows. Especially with this guy we have now. His name is Josh Stein. No one knows him. He's a complete unknown. No one knows how he became governor. We have no idea. We still don't know who he is. Still don't know. But 3 federal judges ruled today that the newly redrawn congressional maps, which are being done by those Republicans, can be used during the 2026 midterm elections. This is good because the redistricting under Democrats was this weird kind of squiggly racist voting districts, where the voting districts were put together by race, by people, by the color of people's skin. Absolutely the exact opposite of what the Constitution guarantees. The Constitution guarantees a Republican form of government. It says it right in the Constitution. And so when people are divided up by color and given representation in Congress based on color, there is an assumption. It's a grand racist assumption that black people cannot be represented by anyone except a black representative. It's racist. It's the stupidest, most racist thing in politics in the world. To think that a person of any color, Hispanic, Caucasian, Asian, could not represent black constituents just the same as white constituents is racist. It's absolutely, positively racist. And to watch the results of black representatives and senators kowtow to their race instead of to their constituents. Yeah, I'm serious. A racial profile that makes up 13% on a good day nationally. In some areas, yes, like here in Charlotte, it's 33% of Charlotte is African American by heritage. But we get along and have gotten along for 150 years. No problem. No problem at all. But somehow the district has to be drawn so that you get a black person, a person with black skin, to represent other people with black skin, which is completely racist. But now, so a 3-judge panel has said you can't do that anymore. North Carolina's map is likely to give Republicans an additional House seat as they try to retain their razor-thin majority in Congress. Not here in North Carolina. Republicans have a very strong majority in North Carolina. But the state's Republican leaders argue their motivation for drawing the new map was partisan and not because of race or political retaliation. The judges in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of North Carolina, which is here where I live, were all appointed by Republican presidents, including 2 by President Donald Trump. In their 57-page ruling, the judges ruled the plaintiffs had not acted with the intent to minimize or cancel out the voting potential of black North Carolinians. In other words, white Republican representatives represented black constituents just fine. Just fine. Listened to their grievances, addressed their grievances, and treated them fairly. North Carolina's new map redraws the state's 1st congressional district, which is right over there. I'm in the 2nd. They're right over there. With the intent to minimize or cancel out the voting potential of black North Carolinians, and that's what the Time reported. Well, it is minimal. All right? It's anywhere from 13 to 33%. That's minimal. Compared to the majority, that's minimal. And that's where it should be. North Carolina's new map redraws the state's 1st congressional district, held by Democrat Representative Don Davis, to include more Republican-leaning areas, having previously included all 8 of the state's majority black counties. Plaintiffs, which included the NAACP, go figure, and in court, the state legislature wiped North Carolina's historic Black Belt congressional district off the map. What they say, silencing black voters by denying them any reasonable opportunity of electing their candidate of choice to Congress. In other words, they wanted to have a black person elected to office, but the black person could not, the black candidate could not gain the favor of the whole electorate. Only black people, because they wanted reparations, because they wanted, clawback positions against white people. Well, no white person's going to vote for that. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous on its face. So that's what they say. Well, you're not listening to our voice. You're not giving us representation. Yeah, you're damn right. We're not giving you representation to do that. This is not redistricting as usual, Hillary Harris Klein, a lawyer representing the plaintiffs, said at a hearing. This is a mid-decade, no pretext attempt to cancel black voters' voices because those in power didn't like the results of the last election. That is just not true. That is a lie. State Senator Ralph Hayes, who helped draw the new map, said no racial data was used to create the new map, as it should be. As it should be. We undertook the process to improve the partisan advantage for Republicans, and that's what they did. North Carolina has joined several other states in redrawing their maps ahead of the 2026 midterm elections to keep Democrats from stealing the election with a minority. States like Texas and Missouri, like, Jasmine Crotchet. Jasmine Crotchet represents about 5% of her district, and yet she got elected because the 5% were carved out into their own little district, and she won that district because she was loud and boisterous and black, and those were her qualifications. Now, of course, the district has been redrawn, and Jasmine Crotchet doesn't stand a chance of a snowball in hell of being reelected because her district is now washed away. States like Texas and Missouri have redrawn their maps to give Republicans additional seats in Congress, while California voters approved a proposition that would give Democrats 5 additional seats, not going to hold a candle to the 15 seats that Republicans have managed to squeeze out. North Carolina Republicans went to work to protect the America First agenda. North Carolinians voted to send President Trump to the White House. In 2016, 2020, and 2024, President Trump was president number 45, number 46, and for number 47. His 46th presidency, the presidency of president number 46, was served in exile. It was served in exile. He did not have the seat of power in the White House, but many referred to him and let him organize as though he was president. And that's why in 2024, when he got in, he had an agenda all ready to go because he had been working on it for 4 years. President Trump deserves a Congress that will fight for American citizens and move his agenda forward because he won about 81 million votes, and now MAGA is up to about 90 million people. Bigger than it ever was. Yes, it's decentralized. No, you can't nail any one issue down, but trust me, MAGA is 90 million strong, and the Democrats don't stand a chance if elections are free and fair. And that's a big if these days, right? Indiana, Virginia, and Maryland are all considering redrawing their congressional maps. Watch it happen. Watch it happen. And that's a big deal for Virginia and Maryland because they're typically blue cities that run those areas. If you don't believe me, look at the map. Virginia, West Virginia especially, but Virginia too, is all red. The entire state is red, except for 2 districts right there by the Capitol. And those districts are so populous that they cancel out the vote of the entire rest of the state. Yeah, that's democracy at its best. That's democracy at its best. I personally think, and I think it's a brilliant idea, even if it is mine, states are now as big as countries were when the founding fathers established this whole form of government. And I think states individually should have republics. They should have representative republics. Each county should have its own representatives and its own senators, and it should offset the power that blue cities have in these states. Because if you get right down to it, I've said it before and I will stand on it forever, there is no such thing as a blue state. It just doesn't exist. Look at the map. Look at the map. Blue states don't exist. It's a fantasy. What exists are blue cities. In fact, I would venture to say most of the major cities, from St. Louis on up, or yeah, I would say maybe Raleigh on up. Raleigh's a little bit smaller than St. Louis for sure, but from about that size up, they're all run by Democrats. And not just the governor's office, the whole election infrastructure, all the election observers, all the election vote and ballot processing is all run by Democrats. And so these blue cities, and I would venture to say there are 12 very strong ones and about 27 in all. So if the Democrats had their way and they managed to do away with the Electoral College, which I don't see how they could do that. You'd have to take a constitutional amendment to do it. But assuming that they could do away with the Electoral College, 12 cities would rule the country. Seriously. The people outside of LA, Chicago, New York, St. Louis, no one outside those areas would ever even hear a presidential candidate's voice. Why? Why? I mean, you could win it all. You could win 8,726 counties and still lose the election if you lose those 12 cities. So why would a candidate campaign anywhere except those 12 cities? Well, he wouldn't. He'd spend all his money there. He'd win those 12 cities because those 12 cities would offset the vote of all of the rest of the country, all the way, coast to coast, border to border. Your voice would be silenced forever. Why? Because that's a democracy. That's a democracy. That's what the founding fathers were afraid of. That's why they set it up as a representative republic, so that the individual's voice in Cabarrus County, North Carolina, or Knox County, Tennessee, the individual's voice counts. It counts because they have a delegate, and the delegate is there to represent them and votes in that direction. And I think that states should establish republics, just like the Constitution says. States should not be pure democracies. They should be republics because they're as big as countries that existed in the 18th century. They have huge economies. They have totally diverse populations, and the diversity of those populations deserves to be heard. And it's not. It is not. They might as well not even vote. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is if Salem and Portland vote. That's it. The rest of the state of Oregon doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is if Chicago votes. Forget about Peoria. Forget about everything south and east and west of Chicago. They're inconsequential. They don't matter. Look at New York. It's a hugely diverse state with agrarian and factories and financial districts. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. New York City controls the state. The same thing in California. Holy crap. The people in Northern California, the people in Central California, they have a totally different life, a totally different universe than what is in LA. And yet LA rules the state because it's a democracy. Well, I don't care if Democrats ever get elected again, as long as they keep acting the way that they're acting. I would rather them not be elected ever again. I would rather it just be Republicans, or at least Americans. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the elderly, because I recently turned 70. I know, because of True Niagen, it staves off the aging. So I'm a perfectly healthy 55-year-old man, but I'm still chronologically 70. So technically speaking, I'm a senior citizen. But seniors who eat alone, according to this study, tend to have poorer nutrition and be more prone to frailty and unhealthy weight loss compared to those who eat with others. Now, this is an Australian research firm, and I don't know where they're getting their data, because I can tell you, when I prepare a meal for myself, it's beautiful. It presents on the plate gorgeous. It's a full course of everything that I like, which is all good stuff. And it's laid on the plate in perfect proportions for me. Now, do I have a tendency to overeat in this situation? No. Why? Because if I go to a restaurant, okay, and I spend $36 to $50 on a meal that's placed on my plate, right? I mentally convert that to value, okay? So yes, I realize it all turns to shit anyway, but in my mind, it's like, I cannot leave this uneaten, all right? So I got a 10-ounce sirloin. Damn it, I'm going to eat the 10-ounce sirloin if it kills me. And I feel like it's going to for the next couple of hours, because 10 ounces of bull meat is too much for any person to eat at one sitting. And then a baked potato on top of that and a monster Caesar. I mean, come on. It's too much food. But when you're spending anywhere from $40 to $60 on a plate, it's like, well, I'm not sending that to the bus boy, right? I'm going to get my value out of it. And so I'm going to stuff it all into my face if it takes me 2 hours to eat it. They're saying, the Australians are saying, well, that's healthy eating. Eat with others at a, $250, $300 table and eat, drink, and be merry, right? And leave with a distended gut. And I don't know about you, but since I've been about 45 years old, my stomach's on the outside of my body, meaning whatever I eat sits right there in front for the next 3 to 4 hours, right? I got to loosen my pants. I can't reach over and tie my shoes. And I'm not going to go stick my finger down my throat because I just spent money to eat it, right? So I totally disagree with this study. Food is one of my favorite things about this planet, not in the quantity, in the quality. It is more than the nutritional benefit it provides, right? It's entertainment, it's pleasure, it's satisfying the human body on multiple levels. Sometimes if the meal's just right, it's better than sex, right? Well, okay, it's the same as maybe. But sharing a meal, and of course the social activity that goes with it, okay, I'll admit, does have some value to it. Maybe there's dietary variety, maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just ribs, I don't know, but that's not dietary variety. But Caitlin Wyman, who's a dietitian and PhD candidate at Flinders University in Adelaide, says otherwise. Her team published their findings recently in the journal Appetite. I wonder how much Appetite paid for that article. They looked at data from over 20 published studies that focused on the health consequences of eating alone among people aged 65 and older. The data involved a total of 80,000 people across 12 countries. What the F? That's a hell of a data set. 80,000 people, 12 countries. That's a great study. We knew from previous research, oh, I see, they tainted their new research with their previous research, that feelings of loneliness and social isolation can contribute to reduced food intake. Oh, really? So they're assuming that people who eat alone are lonely and suffering from social isolation. Really? But we had yet to explore the nutritional and physical outcomes of older adults eating alone versus with others. A majority of the studies reviewed found that eating alone tended to lead seniors to poorer quality food choices. What? So cereal at 10 p.m. is not a good thing? Huh? Yeah, and included less protein-rich flair. The researchers pointed out that protein is crucial to maintaining muscle mass as seniors age. My protein is usually in the form of eggs and meat, which there is usually a plethora of each day. Solo eaters also tended to be more apt to experience weight loss and become more frail compared to folks who ate with others. Meal times together bring mental as well as physical benefits. Now, of that, I will agree. Eating together fosters connection, enjoyment, nourishment. Wyman explained in a university news release, encouraging opportunities for shared meals, whether that's with family, friends, or community programs, could help improve food intake, nutritional status, and quality of life for older adults living at home. Well, I tend to agree, but as we get older, we settle for less, right? In other words, we settle less, not settle for less. We want things a certain way at a certain time, at a certain temperature. We want our veggies and our meat and our salads and everything a certain way. And other people eating with us may not like that, or may not want that, or may not want to eat at that time. In fact, that's usually the case. And so the elderly person usually ends up eating by themselves. And no one wants to just sit there and watch them eat, right? I mean, they just don't. So I think more care should be taken if you're individually feeding yourself. Don't just sit down and eat a bunch of chicken wings. Don't just sit down and eat, ice cream and say, okay, I'm full. That's it. Well, okay, you could do that, but don't do that at every meal. America could use a breather from all the pressure. I can tell you the first business that suffers when the economy gets tight, and it usually is for people over 65 years of age, is restaurants, right? If you own a restaurant, have a friend that owns a restaurant, or go to restaurants from time to time, you'll notice it. I mean, there are some restaurants, there's always a line to get in, but it's not like it used to be. Not when people had disposable income. Hey, let's go get something to eat. Yeah, let's go to wherever, Olive Garden. Let's go to Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go watch the game at the Buffalo Wild Wings instead of sitting here at home, snacking. I get all that, but restaurants pay the price first. They're the ones that the budget gets cut out first. Not necessarily fast food, although fast food is definitely impacted, but sit-down restaurants. Washakiwin says, potato chips are my downfall, deadly to my keg-sized abs. Yeah, I don't eat potato chips anymore. Now, potato chips are evil. All those highly processed foods in bags and boxes, bags in boxes, all that's bad for you. You should eat celery and carrots and maybe blue cheese dressing or ranch dressing. You should make for yourself an elaborate bean dip with hamburger meat and cheese and black olives and beans, right? Something that's substantial. Yeah, okay, it takes 15 minutes to prepare and half a day to eat, if you just snack on it. But yeah, you need those sources of protein. Forget about those potato chips. Yeah. And you know what it's going to do. Everything you eat like that's a highly processed food, it stays with you for life. So, do you have to do this in a group? No. Is the game more enjoyable to watch with a group than by yourself? Yeah. Especially if there's a rivalry there, but you could balance it out. I'm not going to knock their study down because 80,000 people is a lot of people to study, and as 12 countries, that's a hell of a sample size. I'm questioning their conclusions. People who eat by themselves are puny, and people who eat with groups are not. They're in much better health. Not necessarily true. I mean, I eat by myself 90% of the time, and I'm in way better shape than anybody else my age that I know. Yeah, that's right, boy dogs too. Bean dip needs tortilla chips. Absolutely. See, potato chips are not adequate for bean dip because they're too frail. All right, let's talk a little bit about the color revolution that's going on. This is pretty scary stuff. News media always has to come up with a cleverly coined title, and this one is the Seditious Six. You know, like, I don't know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like the Magnificent Seven. That's what they're trying to make themselves out to be. And I have to be honest with you. I think America has an extreme level of fatigue about this whole thing. I'm serious. It's like we've had the shit kicked out of us for years over this Democrat hatred for America. And we're tired of it. We really want it to go away. We don't just want it to end, because we know if it ends, it just goes underground and it becomes like gout. You know, it just creeps up behind you and makes it hard for you to walk and in pain all the time. We don't want that. We want it to end. We want it to end. And to tell you the honest truth, at least here at Thanksgiving, we could use a breather from all of this, right? Democrat Party's billionaire-backed dark money NGO machine, which we seem powerless to stop, right? Huma Abedin marries George Soros's daughter and links the Muslim Brotherhood with the richest terrorist on earth. It's nothing good can come from this, right? They've spent years, decades running this rolling color revolution style campaign against President Trump and anything aligned with America First. America First sounds great. It sounds wonderful. It's nothing bad can come from it. And yet they have been running this revolution on all channels at all hours. The pressure campaign is constant, activist fronts, sparking orchestrated unrest in places like, it's your fault. These cars, these buildings, these windows are broken because of you. It's your rhetoric that's causing all. That's just insane. I'm hitting you about the head with a stick, but it's your fault because you're so damn ugly and mean. I just have to hit you. That's basically what it boils down to. In Los Angeles, you know, these professional protest complexes they have, followed by scripted influence operations and megaphones and paid activists to go from city to city to city. It's the same damn people over and over and over again. And now these seditious six. Latest messaging pressures military and intelligence personnel to refuse illegal orders. And if you ask the questions, just do it. Just watch what happens. People say, well, okay, so let me ask the question of you, Representative. What is an illegal order? We don't know. We don't know what an illegal order is. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They are plainly clear about it. An illegal order is anything Judge Boasberg decides is illegal. Judge Merchan, Judge Smith. It's anything they say is illegal. So what we're doing is we're empowering the judicial cartel. You know what the judicial cartel is, right? We have some 670 federal judges in the district and in the district system. And some 245 of them have issued injunctions against President Trump. That's a judicial cartel. President Bukele warned us about it told us what they would do, what they tried to do in his country. He took a different route. He impeached them all. And yeah, he paid a price for it, in public popularity, but he saved his country. And now they know what he was talking about. Now they know, because now they have peace and they have prosperity and tranquility because the judicial cartel was defeated. But not so in our country. In our country, we let them go, and we let them go and go and go and go, and we don't impeach them. And they become so powerful, even if they're, reprimanded by the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter. They just come right back and make another universal injunction. And this is what we're weary of. So if President Trump orders something like, let's blow up these boats that are bringing drugs into our country. Let's blow them up in open water, and let's scatter the drugs all over the place and not let it come to our country and kill Americans. And a judge says, well, that's illegal. You have to arrest these people and give them due process and blah, blah, blah. And President Trump says, no, they're enemy combatants. They're a part of a terrorist organization. And that therefore they fall under this category, and we're going to vaporize them in the water. Now, if the soldiers, if the pilots of those helicopters that are blowing these boats up decide, hey, this judge in Rhode Island says that this is an illegal order, so I'm going to choose not to obey. I'm going to let this boat arrive at its destination in Miami and unload and watch tens of thousands of Americans die because this is an illegal order. Now you see the danger, the ramification here. People end up getting killed when people don't follow the orders of the commander-in-chief. And this pressure campaign that's now being brought by the seditious six, these senators, it needs to end in the next 10 minutes. They need to go arrest these people, and they need to gag them by putting them in prison and not giving them access to the press. And 2 or 3 years from now, they need to stand trial for what they did. That is to say, seditious acts against the President of the United States. 2 or 3 years from now, that thing will finally make it to trial. In the meantime, they're like Ghislaine Maxwell. Maybe they might be in a little nicer facility than the average person that's locked up, but you don't hear shit from them. No public statements, no social media posts, no selfies going out, nothing. Their Senate race, their Senate office is over. All 6 Democrats gone. Well, that's the thing, Tatanka Dave. You're talking about charges, insurrection, sedition, and treason. If you call it sedition or treason, there are specific penalties for this in the Constitution, and they know the penalties are death, right? Hanging, lethal injection, firing squad. You die. That's it. You're sentenced, you're convicted, and you die. It's not life in prison, it's death. Why is it death? Because the founding fathers knew the danger that seditious acts and treasonous acts posed. And so they made the penalties so bad that nobody in their right mind would try it. Nobody in their right mind would attempt it, because as soon as they're convicted, they're going to be room temperature. No more Christmases for you. No more visits with the grandkids for you. You're going to die. So how do I know they know this? Because the first thing they said when they were pressed in the news media, hey, what do you say about the president charging you with sedition? Well, they said, but that means the president is trying to kill us. Are you going to let the president of the United States threaten our lives? That's their defense. That's their defense. We can't let the president of the United States threaten the life of a senator. No, you did that yourself. You did that yourself. You knew what the penalties were, And you did it anyway, willfully, openly, without remorse. And that's why you should be put to death. Oh, yeah. Mona Hawk says, the Six also have a website that says, you didn't sign up for this.org. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We signed up for this kind of sedition to be ended forever. And this pressure campaign, it's constant. It never lets up. These activist fronts sparking orchestrated unrest looks like 2 National Guard soldiers shot in D.C. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And these protests, this industrial size protest that's happening in Los Angeles, that's what it looks like. That's what this constant activism looks like. It's a scripted influence operation. And the script has now been written by the seditious Six. And it's a terrible thing. All right, let's see here. The bigger picture, of course, is what I want to alert you to, because it's very frightening. It's a type and a shadow. It's all part of a coordinated effort to delegitimize the Trump administration and America First movement, and to keep the country in a state of manufactured chaos with aims for regime change. How many of you have heard on the news that, oh, MAGA is shrinking, MAGA is divided, MAGA is no longer with the president, he's losing support? That's just not true. MAGA is documented to be over 90 million Americans now, voting Americans. And Trump's reelection desire, people that have been polled that voted for President Trump the first 2 times, who were asked would they vote for him again, 93% say they would vote for him again. That is not a fractured MAGA. That's not a fractured MAGA. Now, the thing about MAGA that makes it unique among all movements that there have been in the world is that we are decentralized, right? There's not some puppet master waving his hand to the left, waving his hand to the right, and like a school of fish, we flash one way or the other. It doesn't work that way. That's what makes MAGA so strong and so indefeatable, is because we are all independent thinkers. How many podcasts like America Free Radio are out there? 500? Oh, hell. 1,000? We might be getting close. I would say there are about 2,000 podcasts like America Free Radio. What does the other side have? 4, 5 maybe. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, right? We outnumber them. Our listener audience by ourselves, America Free Radio, is bigger than CNN in certain markets. Not shitting you at all. Not shitting you. We have 4 million people that see or hear words on America Free Radio. If you don't believe me, watch the news tomorrow. Listen to the news tomorrow, anywhere you want, and you'll hear my words. They do listen. They open the can and they go, oh my God, he's exactly right. Now they don't give me credit. And you know what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if Benny uses my words, right? Anyway, let's take a quick break. We'll come back after this.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Tune Tune in to the Family Industrial Complex podcast here on Revolution Radio, Studio B, every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Get fit, empowered, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
The rooster has crowed out the opening bars of a new day. You've dragged yourself out of bed. You turn on your device. You want to know what's going on in the world. But you're hungry for a topical show that serves up those breakfast headlines just that little bit differently. Do you like your early morning news the way you like your eggs over easy? Served with slathers of salsa-like sass? Do you like those first headlines of the day to deliver a punch as powerful as that first cup of joe? Join Mitchell Bupp at his breakfast table for Revolution in the Morning, where he will digest, dissect, and dismantle those new day's national and global news headlines with razor-sharp relish. Find Mitchell here at revolution.radio every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on Studio B.
Through everything, we have to remember that we have more in common than not in common. And to find this common ground, tune in to Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio A. Because we come to this table of life to learn in the best possible way and experience this gift of life from our mutual Creator. So let's learn together and build our best future with Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Studio A on Revolution Radio.
I will defend myself against their tyranny. Number 3 is my radio broadcast. I'm squarely in front of the public all the time, and they all know what's going on.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on public means for expanding its sphere of influence.
Hello, my name is John Wayne, and I do a broadcast here at freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
Freedom and fear are at war.
And folks, I assure you, we are in Defense Mission 1. As we journey perilously through this paradigm that we currently reside in. And I ask that you join me every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
We shall never surrender.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at buyer risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for hanging in there while we took that short break. Now back to America Free Radio with host Brooks Agnew here at Revolution Radio.
Yeah, don't you love Revolution Radio? They have the tightest board. I really enjoy being a part of this this great crew here at Revolution Radio. This is the voice of the revolution, by the way. So really quick, let's take care of some business here. Those of you that are watching by video can see my website, americafreeradio.com. Those of you listening by audio, we're going to make a change right now. We're going to go to my website, which is brooksagnew.com. brooksagnew.com. You will know you're at the right place because it will say, I'm Brooks Agnew. There's my picture. Everybody knows you're in the right place. Now, there's one button I want you to pay attention to, and that's get my free newsletter. If you're not getting the free newsletter, you're missing out because there are links and goodies in there. It comes twice a week on Wednesdays and Sundays, and no other time am I going to send you a newsletter unless it's something really emergency. So it's not like spam or anything like that. Just get the free newsletter and you'll know what I'm talking about. We'll go up here to the shop. I want to explain to you some changes that had to take place with respect to health and aging. If you go to health and aging, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you that have been trying to get fenbendazole and ivermectin for yourselves without a prescription, you've been coming to me for years because you trust me, and you know I'm not going to send you any Chinese crap. Okay, this is the original stuff made in India. We'll try to keep it made in India or made in the U.S. We have had some issues. The India Post lodged an embargo against the United States and stopped shipping to us in September. And that was a little difficult to overcome, but we overcame it by rerouting everything through Dubai. Now, the issues that we had with this, first of all, a huge interruption in the money. Second, the length of time it took to get things went from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, which is to me unacceptable. But the worst part of it was the shipping reliability. People were getting short shipped. They were not getting their full orders. And I was furious over this. I was mad over this. So I leaned on the pharmacy in Japan, and they retaliated by getting even worse. So we have cut them off. I know that was my one contact. So I've had to develop new contacts, which took some time, but we have succeeded in doing that. And there are some advantages to this and maybe one disadvantage. The disadvantage is the price had to go up about $5 because I got to cover the shipping. The good news is that we're going to be able to cut it from 4 weeks down to maybe 10 days, maybe even faster. Once we get the system going and get it set up and get the stock set up and the mailers, the actual packaging set up, because packaging is a big part of this, we should be able to get it out in a week or 10 days. That's the kind of service that my listeners have been looking for. And what I have to do is find a way to control the feedstock. And that's what we're working on right now. So have a little patience. It's working out. Keep making your purchases. We're going to get them out the door, or I'm going to refund your money. Now, the one thing you notice that's missing here, we have the ivermectin. We have great source on fenbendazole, especially the 444 milligrams, which is what people are using to fight cancer. But you'll notice there's no HCQ. There's no HCQ. I can't find a source for it. I'll keep working on it. When I find it, I'll let you know. But I will tell you that it's 20 to 1. 20 people order ivermectin for every one person that orders HCQ. That's just the way it works out. So it's at least workable. Now you know what I know, and I'm sharing that with you. True Niagen is still working great. Make your orders from the company. I will try to set you up for the $30 discount with your first order. And it works. All I can tell you is all the other wannabes out there, there are more expensive stuff. There's liquid NAD that you can take. It's about 3 times as expensive as this. It's about this is about $90, and that's about $270. I guess it depends on what you want to spend, but my listeners are in the $90 range, and it works. I've been taking it now for 7 years. I haven't aged in 7 years. I'm sold on it. It works. The Insulis, of course, I have mine right here. I take it every day, a couple times a day, 5-6 drops under the tongue, and it lowers my insulin resistance. That's why it's called Insuless. And keeps my A1C in numbers that makes my doctor go, how the hell do you keep your A1C so low? Well, that's how it's done, right? And the Himalaya toothpaste, by the way, I just got my new shipment in. This is the Himalaya toothpaste here. See, comes in a box. It's about the same price as what you spend on Crest or Colgate or Aquafresh, but there's no fluoride in it. I've not put fluoride in my body in at least 15 years, and Himalaya toothpaste is a key part of it. The other is the methylene blue. Now, a lot of people do methylene blue, this fabric dye that seems to have a side effect to really make that laser focus in your brain work, get you refocused on stuff that you were wanting to finish, a book, reading or writing, or different kinds of projects around the house. You can stain your teeth and your tongue and dribble it on your tie or whatever with the dropper. That's fine. Keep doing it if you like that. But if you don't and you want it in capsule form, this is the stuff, Blue Boost, what I use, and it does work. All right, let's get back to it. We have stuff we need to talk about. We were talking about the color revolution that has started. Some people in the chat room picked up on this. Is Brooks saying that the seditious six are responsible for the Afghans stepping forward and shooting 2 National Guardsmen? You guys are very quick. Put stuff together very quickly. Remember, weeks ago, there is a very, very good reporter, much like me. Her name is Jenica Pounds. You know who she is? Yeah, she is a researcher, and she calls herself Data Republican. Very, very reliable source. You should follow her, okay? You should follow her. I do. But she peeled back the layers of what appears to be the inner workings of at least one color revolution style operation orchestrated by Democrats, namely these seditious six. They're nonprofit groups. They're former USAID employees, because that organization's been ripped apart by Doge. Of course, leftist billionaires like George Soros and his son. And it's all designed to destabilize President Trump and destroy MAGA from within. Is it working? No. No, but now people are dying. Now people are being shot. So she has gone down the deep state rabbit hole, what I call the global syndicate. And she has a lot more time to do this than anybody else, and she's very focused on what she does. She's discovered a web of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and they take in a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. And they have launched an informational campaign, I would say less than a week before the seditious six released their public statement that says, you must refuse illegal orders. And what's an illegal order again? What's an illegal order? That's right. Anything Judge Boasberg or Merchan or Smith, anything they say is illegal. That's an illegal order. That's an illegal order. So it's the judicial cartel that is pulling the strings on whether military personnel should follow Trump's orders or not. Imagine how effing crazy that is. The National Lawyers Guild issued a document about refusing illegal orders on the 11th of November. It sounds and reads exactly like what I just said. What I just said, if a federal judge says it's illegal, by God, you have the duty to refuse that order. I'm not shitting you one bit. And now they've partnered with Win Without War to advertise seditious adjacent behavior on billboards. Yeah, the billboards are starting to pop up. You know how much they cost? $3,000 to $6,000 a month. A month. And who pays it? Well, the U.S. taxpayers pay for it. That's right. You're the ones providing the money for those billboards. And Win Without War has multiple congressional liaisons on their About page. The footer says on the website, Win Without War, which links to employee identification number 27-0819099. It is a 501c4, which seems to have been named New Security Action in the past. They changed their names. And guess who funds it? You don't have to guess very much. Open Society. George Soros's Open Society is the major backer. Other than that, the website links to 3 partners: Veterans Against War, GI Rights Hotline National Lawyers Guild. Let's see here. One thing that jumped out, she says to me about Win Without War's About page, is that the multiple people in their leadership, they claim to work with Congress. And the others, they say it's been revealed that a nonprofit linked to George Soros is fomenting sedition within the military around the same time this Seditious Six script went out. The Color Revolution playbook, fueled by the Democrats' NGO network, is now increasingly evident. The operation relies on engineered unrest, coordinated misinformation, sustained perceptions shaping campaigns aimed at softening the ground for political regime change. And if you strip away the noise and it becomes clear, Democrats have no economic agenda to offer the middle class except for Marxism, death, mayhem, and of course, their primary objective is regime change. And you know what they're going to say? It's probably come out tomorrow. It hasn't come out yet, but that's why you listen to this program, because I give you the future state. I bring you the present from the future. And that says, look at the violence that President Trump has caused. Look at the violence President Trump has caused. We now have 2 National Guardsmen fighting for their lives, and no, they haven't died yet. Somebody asked that question in the chat room. They're fighting for their lives. We have 2 National Guardsmen that are fighting for their lives, and we have more violence coming because, as I said, this is a type and a shadow. This one Afghan stepping forward and hollering Allahu Akbar and opening fire is just a type and a shadow. It's what the Muslim Brotherhood does. They look for people that want to die, and they make martyrs out of them by stepping forward and doing this. This violence, this murderous violence, is going to be blamed on President Trump because he's causing it. His policies are causing it. If those National Guard were not in D.C., this would never have happened. Really? Well, how about if the Afghan national that overstayed his invitation in the Biden administration, how about if he wasn't here? How about if he was sent home when he was supposed to be sent home? How about the 150,000 illegals that are here in the Charlotte area? How about if they weren't here anymore? I'll bet you there'd be about 9 or 10 people just in the last 90 days that would still be alive in this city if they weren't here. Right. Oh, the billboard just outside of Fort Bragg. Yeah. Find out who put it up there and arrest them under RICO. All this, you need to follow the money, and you need to find out, you need to seize all the assets and stop this revolution before it gets started. I don't know, Bruce. I don't know what to tell you. I can't be everywhere, but I can just be here. And hopefully people that are listening to this program will get it done. And now there is an FBI investigation. Oh, I'm so encouraged by that. Not. Democrats are absolutely losing their shit after the Trump administration opened an investigation into the seditious six. And the FBI, they're pretty thorough. FBI will always get their man. And right now, their man is Mark Kelly. And he's just responding by saying, this is ridiculous. I can't even believe this is happening. But Monday of this week, Secretary of War Hegseth said he can take disciplinary action against Mark Kelly because he is a U.S. Reserve Navy captain and and an astronaut, and he can be court-martialed. He can be reactivated and court-martialed. And by the way, Pete, that needs to take place at midnight tonight. Yeah, you need to haul him out and you need to perp walk him and court-martial him tonight. 5 of the 6 do not fall under the Department of War, although they're not subject to the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. There are departments that are over them. All 6 lawmakers said the FBI had asked to interview them. I probably think their lawyers are advising them not to do that. No amount of intimidation or harassment will ever stop us from doing our jobs and honoring our Constitution. What a bunch of effing liars. The FBI declined to comment on the agency's inquiry. Good for you. Kelly remains subject to court-martial. The case raises constitutional questions, particularly under Article 1, which affords lawmakers certain protections for statements made in the course of legislation or, in some interpretations, public duties. Legal scholars note that this dynamic may force the courts to balance military conduct statutes with congressional speech protections, but you don't have protections against sedition. With Congress out of session for Thanksgiving, of course, Republican lawmakers are going to be slow to comment because they don't want to do anything that will end up being swung back on them. Senator John Curtis, who's from Utah, he's a Republican, he said he respects Kelly personally, while Lisa Murkowski said that to accuse him and other lawmakers of treason and sedition for rightfully pointing out that service members can refuse illegal orders is reckless and flat out wrong. But when you link this with the idea that the illegality classification of these orders is in the hands of federal judges. The federal judges are the ones, these same ones that are issuing these universal injunctions. These are the judges that are going to determine whether what President Trump has ordered is legal or not. And if the judge says, no, that order is illegal, service members who are disgruntled with their current status in the armed services can refuse the order. To their own detriment, I'm sure they're going to be court-martialed, they're going to be jailed, and then their rights are going to be all tied up in this. You could see that seditious behavior is punishable by death, and I think that it should be adjudicated swiftly. Swiftly. Thank you, Della Meow. She says, happy Thanksgiving to me and to all in the chat. Have to continue preparing for family visiting. Yes, family's coming in. So stale the bread, prep that turkey, get it in the oven, make sure it's right, not too dry. If you need pointers on how to make gravy, just write me and I will tell you how to make gravy. Very simple. Everyone will love you for it. And they'll say, where did you get that gravy recipe? I got it from Brooks Agnew at America Free Radio. Yes, there's a lot of internal security arguments going on in the Department of Defense and, of course, in the FBI. They inherited a lot of that crap. Patel has drawn criticism for deploying local FBI tactical resources for personal security purposes involving his girlfriend, whatever. MS Now reported that Patel's tenure atop the FBI may be numbered. They're trying to drive a wedge between him and President Trump. The story is completely made up. In fact, when this fake news published, Carolyn Levitt said, "I was in the Oval Office where President Trump was meeting with his law enforcement team, including Kash Patel." Trump later said Patel's doing a great job. Politically, Pete Hegseth's posture may inadvertently bolster Kelly, who is considered by some Democrats as a potential 2028 presidential contender. Whatever. I hope he does run. But the public exposure has carried risk for the Democrats involved. Several have reported an escalation in threats. Slotkin, the former CIA agent, now receives security protection from Capitol Police. Now, they've made a lot of friends. And they've made many, many, many more enemies. Yeah, I know, Washaki Wynn, you wish the Patel story wasn't fake. He's just trying to take care of the people that he loves. He can't hire private security to watch the back door for his girlfriend, so he puts FBI people. I just swing by the house and make sure that everything's okay. You could see that temptation is always there. All right, let's go a little bit freestyle. We got about 30 minutes left. Any questions that you have in the chat room, I will answer. Any questions at all? I know you've got some brewing around in your mind. Pool Dude says he used to live in Carolina Beach. I like Carolina Beach. I go deep sea fishing. Carolina Beach is where I go. Those boats are amazing. Yeah, the deep sea fishing for mackerel is second to none. And if you really want to get some exciting, go out in the Gulf and fish for tuna. Wow, talk about a race. Woo! Well, in response, President Trump sent 200 or 500, I think it was 200 more troops to Washington, D.C. So the patrols are going to increase. Also, I have to remind you that the area that the two West Virginia National Guard members were shot is highly surveilled by camera. Like every square on the sidewalk is covered with a camera. So what they have done over the last few hours, since 2:00 this afternoon when the shooting occurred, they're retracing the steps of this Afghan national. They want to know how he got there, where he came from, where he left from. And I think at this very hour, it is now almost 10 o'clock. It's 9:30 Eastern time. I would say that his apartment and where he sleeps and where he showers is already being scoured. Everything there for bomb-making equipment, cell phones, computers, his personal cell phone that he had on him when he was shot is already being cracked open. Every contact, every text message, every order, every phone call that he's received from Democrats is going to be followed. And this is going to turn into a big deal. And it needs to very quickly, because right now, all over the United States, there are other Islamic sleeper cells and individuals like this guy who's, I'm going to call him Rahman. I'm not going to use his full name. I hate giving these people publicity for doing what they did. But his first name begins with Rahman. That this guy is completely dissected while he's alive. Every place he came from, every person he met with, every agreement that he made, where he got the gun, where he bought the ammunition, where he came from, what he ate this morning, who's in his cell phone contact list, all that stuff. Because there are Rahmans in just about every major metro in the country right now. And they might be looking for National Guard members to randomly walk up to and shoot in the head and neck, but they might also be looking for you, because I know where you're going to be after lunch tomorrow. I know where you're going to be on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. You're going to be right over there at the mall. No, there's no Bed Bath & Beyond anymore. They went out of business. But there are other businesses. That's where you're going to be. You're going to be watching Friday football. You're going to be watching Saturday football or Sunday soccer. That's where you're going to be. And you know what? That's where they're going to be too. So you need to keep your awareness about you so you can keep you and your family safe. Okay? Well, I think the streets of D.C. are at least 30% safer than they were before Trump sent the National Guard in. But he's not backing off. He's not saying, okay, get the National Guard off the streets. It's too dangerous. Nope. He's sending in more. Yeah, Mad Hat says, MSNBC did a piece today saying people are complaining in D.C., and they're saying the guard presence is creating tensions in the city, and that is just not true. I can point 50 interviews, man on the street interviews that have been done by decentralized podcasters like me, going out on the street and saying, what do you think about the National Guard here? Everybody's saying, man, this is great. Man, I haven't been outside of my vehicle or my apartment on this street in years, but I can now do it because the guys that were accosting me, that were mugging me, that were begging for money, that were threatening to carjack me or following me to my house, threatening to rape me, they're all gone. They're all gone. Because the one thing you must know about crime, you have to know it. If you don't know it, listen to my words very carefully. Who commits the crime in the cities? Who commits the crime? The answer is the same people over and over and over again. Black, Hispanic, white, it does not matter. It's the same people over and over again. Look at their rap sheets when they're arrested for the next crime that they do, for the next stabbing, for the next assault, for the next rape, for the next larceny, the next shoplifting. Look at their rap sheet. 10 times, 20 times, 50 times they've been arrested and released. It's the same people over and over and over again. You must remove the criminals from the street. And if the jails won't hold them, take them somewhere. Take them somewhere in the Sonora Desert. I don't give a flying F. Get them out of my community so my friends can walk the streets after 10 p.m. coming out of a cigar bar and not have to worry about having their cell phone stolen or being accosted, forcing them to the ATM to take out money and give it to them. Oh, no, that's real. It happens every single day. There's not a cop to be found anywhere because Mayor Vi does not allow it. She doesn't allow cops on the street. It's just them and you. And it's the same people over and over again. And be damn lucky, be damn grateful that you're not on that blue line after dark. Like Irina Zarutska was when she got knifed to death by DeCarlos Brown, who should not have been on the streets at all, but he was. Yeah. Washaki went 50 arrests likely means 500 crimes. That's probably about right. But it's not just the arrests. They also have to be detained. They have to be held for trial. You can't just let these people out on the streets again with no cash bail because they're just going to commit the crime again. Yeah, to talk to Dave, you're dang right. Yeah. Criminals and drug dealers are mad as hell because it's not business as usual. That's for sure. You're waiting for that boat to come in because it's got your fentanyl shipment on it, and it gets fed to the fish out there in the deep water by a Black Hawk helicopter. I would say you're pretty mad about that. What is that? Well, yes, I have. Thank you very much. 234 pounds today. 40 pounds I've lost since September. I know. It's just November. 40 pounds. That's a big difference. That's packing around a 3-year-old. No, I'm going to keep going. My goal is 215 pounds. Man, I would be back to my old fighting weight if I get to 215 pounds. I look really skinny because I'm really broad, but I want to get there, and it's slowly getting there. Yeah, it's it feels great. Feels great. Everything's healthy. Everything's good. I go for one little electrical operation on my heart on the 4th of December. So those of you that are in the habit of praying, you might throw a word or two my way on December 4th. I would appreciate it. It's rare that complications happen, but I really want to get my heart all moving in the right direction. Right now, I've got this kind of Kill Bill thing going, where part of my heart's pumping one way and part of my heart's pumping the other way, and we want to fix it. What was it? Oh. Well, okay. That's a complex question. Yeah, I think next year is going to be a good year for economics. Unemployment is way down. I think that all these jobs coming in, it's going to create an upward pressure in a couple of ways. First of all, it's going to take the upper management of the current businesses that are out there. And I would say it's all the way down to middle management, like not to the supervisors, but to the regional managers or to departmental managers in these manufacturing plants. It's going to suck them off. It's going to suck them upwards. So these plants are coming in, and they need 3 things. First of all, they need local management that knows the local people. Okay. Second of all, they need the local people to come in and work at that factory. And we're talking tens of thousands of jobs in areas that don't have those jobs right now. Most of those people are going to come from current employers. So people that are pickers at Amazon or cooks at the local restaurant, or, they're in between jobs. They're kind of getting by and kind of not getting by. They're looking for that $38 an hour. They want that $48 an hour job. And these factories are the ones that are going to be offering it. And so they're going to be pulling from the existing employers. All right. So now what this does, it creates a vacuum in the, let's just call it the initial hiring ranks. All right. So then companies like Kelly and Staff Mart and all these companies are going to start, and yes, okay, ZipRecruiter, they're going to start feeding people into those old jobs. And that's the way the cycle kind of works. So they're saying we're somewhere around 4% unemployment. I think that's bullshit. I think we're actually probably sitting somewhere around 8.5%, especially here in North Carolina. In other words, about 1 out of 10 people, 1 out of 12 people are either not employed or they're underemployed. Yeah, it's a big thing. When you work at 2 part-time jobs instead of the 1 full-time job you really are qualified to do. It's the same as unemployment to me. So I think that's going to drop to a true 4%, which means full employment. 96% of the people working, 4% of the people saying, I don't want to work. they're gonna eliminate themselves from the job market one way or the other, either because they don't want to work or they can't work or they're not reliable or they're hooked on drugs. So, yeah, there's a lot. Oh God, I remember putting out a feeler to fill an assembly line job to build some minor car parts. It wasn't heavy lifting or anything. And I had 11 people that I interviewed and I sent for the drug testing, right? I don't know, 40 or 50 people that I interviewed. I selected 11. I had to rerun the interviews because I couldn't get 11 people to pass the drug test. Whatever, right? Like a lot of people are even saying, you know what? Forget about it. Just forget about the drug test. We can't get anybody to pass. I need warm bodies. And so they're hiring people who are recreationally using marijuana and they can't pass a drug test. So they just waive the drug test. And they tell the people, look, if you come to work high, you're fired. Okay. If you use drugs or bring drugs on campus, you're fired. Got it? You want to use it at home on the weekends. You want to go to concerts down at Music Factory and trash yourself. That's your business. Just don't come to work high and don't bring your drugs on campus. That's the settlement, right? And the places that do the blood tests and the hair tests and urine tests for employment, they're not as busy as they used to be just because companies are not doing it anymore. Their insurance companies are requiring them to have a drug-free workplace. And so what they want are people that can pass the drug test. I think that they're saying, okay, how about if we just have the people that are operating a forklift or the people that are using power equipment like welders or presses or something like that? And everybody else, people that are using a screw gun or people that are putting on labels or people that are packaging products in boxes, they don't need to have drug-free bloodstreams. They just need to not be high when they're at work. And the insurance companies are telling them, hell no, you can't do that. So the companies are just not telling them. They're not telling them. And they're running what are called temps. You know what a temp is, right? That's where they go to a temp agency and they say, I want 63 people to run assembly production. And so they provide 63 warm bodies and the company trains them and they come in and they work. And 90 days later, they re-up it. And 90 days later, I've seen plants that have had temps there for 5 years. 5 freaking years. Can you imagine that? You're not getting full pay. The temp agency is siphoning pay off and making themselves rich. But the temporary employee is temporary for 5 years and can't get hired full time. It's because of the drug test. I swear to God, it's crazy. But that is what's going to happen in the job market in the next 6 months here in the United States, especially in North Carolina and the Midwest. You're going to see a lot of new factories opening up. They need people to work in them, and they're going to be pulling from existing employers and moving in people to do it. But the moving in people to do it are going to be slower because, unfortunately, the housing that those move-ins would take is being occupied by illegals right now, and the illegals can't work. They can't take the job. They can't take the job because of the requirements to have a green card to be able to work in the United States. You can't just hire an illegal. That's just the way it is. And employers that hire illegals, whether they're in food processing or manufacturing, are going to be in big trouble and they're going to get fined. Right. Now, all this is going to have an effect on the tax base, which is going to make everything go well. I get it. Verizon, Amazon, FedEx, and all that, because AI is doing a lot of those jobs now. They are laying people off, but you got to look at their stock. Watch Microsoft stock. Watch Amazon stock. Watch Verizon stock, UPS, Intel. Watch their stock. It will go up because their profitability will go up when they slough off extra employees. It's to profit take for processes that they already know how to do and do very well. And then once that profit taking is over, they'll rehire back. It happens every single time. It's a cycle. Yeah. Bruce is saying he's a 35-year industrial electrician and they can't find good help. It's true. I have hired a couple of electricians that weren't licensed, but they were getting their license. They were taking their license exams and stuff like that. And to be honest, I had to redo 30% of what they did. 30% of what they did not work because the workmanship was shoddy. But I went back and fixed it. All right. What else? Leo says, I lost 40 pounds on the horse racing. You shouldn't gamble. I can't say that on the radio, Leo. So this is pretty much a family program, even though I have kind of a halfway sailor's mouth sometimes. All right, I'm just trying to get an update here to see how the National Guardsmen are doing. So far, I think they are still alive. I know they've been shot up pretty good. Well, I grew up in Southern California, and Mayor Karen really pisses me off because these homes that were around since the 30s burned down, and Mayor Karen is not letting them rebuild under reasonable circumstances. They're making them upgrade their homes with huge changes, like elevating the house 4 feet, things that are ridiculous. There's no flood zone or anything there. But, yeah, they're putting all kinds of regulations on them and making it very difficult for them to rebuild their homes. And so Mayor Karen is getting a hell of a backlash, and you couldn't piss off a wealthier, more intelligent demographic than this area. So she's got her hands full. I don't predict anything for New York. I think that Ma'am Danny is going to try some things that he ran on and not going to be able to get them done. It's great if you have other people's money to work with, but he does not. And he can't get it because the governor is not going to give it to him. Trump's not going to give it to him. And so his socialist agenda is going to fall flat on its face. He's going to be a big failure. If he may even resign, because there's nothing he can do. He doesn't have the money to do what he wants to do because there is not enough other people's money to do his socialist agenda. So I don't look for anything out of Ma'am Danny. What else? Oh, yeah, you saw that. The Christian singer. He's a black guy named Solomon Ray. He's like beautiful voice. He's got a totally toned body. He's a kind of a Mississippi Christian singer. It's an AI creation. He's not real. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, he's chart topping. And not that AI can't write good music. It can. But it created an avatar, and it's so passable that people have let it go to the top of the charts. And it's all AI. Minneapolis, I think, that is in for some radical changes. I think President Trump is going to push very hard to revoke the citizenship status for a lot of these Somalis. I'd say upwards of 40,000 of them, which is almost half the population. He's going to box them up and ship them back to Somalia. And I would love it if Ilhan Omar went with him. And so would you. But the good news is that political group, that political juggernaut that is the Somali community in Minneapolis, it's going to end. Watch and mark my words. It's going to end in 2026. Yes, it could happen very quickly. Their immigration status can be revoked because of the $1 billion in financial fraud. And believe me, they know who did it, when they did it, how much they did it, where the money went. Al-Shabaab is a known terrorist organization. They can trace the money. They have it all. They have it all. And this Minnesota judge overturning this jury finding is just an indication of the corruption. Yeah, I couldn't have drawn more attention to it. The jury found him guilty. The judge said, "Oh, well, I'm going to throw that judgment out because you didn't consider, the extenuating circumstances. They might have stole the money, but they probably had a good reason to steal it." What? What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, it's going to be thrown out. And I think you're going to see a lot of Somalis also be thrown out of the country. I don't think anybody's going to be heartbroken about it. Well, I mean, the Democrats are. Tim Walz might be, but yeah. Well, that's my prediction. Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm glad you brought that up. Look, this is not unusual, okay? Matt Gaetz, he quit. Jason Chaffetz, he quit. Jason Chaffetz was the dang committee chairman, right? He quit because he was referring people for criminal prosecution and nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. The Congress has no power at all. And so when Marjorie Taylor Greene she was all MAGA all the time. She was 100% behind President Trump. And what happened was, because she had invested so much in getting out there and saying and putting faith in what Trump was saying, that she felt like she was personally burned by it. And I would say the thing that kind of lit the fire behind the "I'm getting the hell out of here" is when she heard the testimony from the victims of the Epstein operation. And she was so moved. She was so compelled by that. She almost read the names of the perpetrators out in Congress just to get them out there. And she was evidently stopped from doing it and agreed because so many threats against her life and her family's life were made that she didn't do it. So that was the first thing, the thing that really sealed it, the thing that really said, you know what, I'm out of here. In January, that's it. When we come back from recess, I'm not coming with you. The thing that really sealed it, and it probably would for me too, it's the wall. It's the wall. Building that wall across the southern border was one of Trump's original campaign promises. Okay, so he didn't have the money and they blocked him from getting the money, the Democrat Congress, the Democrat Senate, blah, 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 blah. But now he has Congress and now he has the Senate. He has the budget. We could easily carve out $5 billion to build that wall. Not one section anywhere, not in Texas, not in Arizona, not in Alabama, nowhere. The wall's stopped. It has nothing, zero has been done since Trump was reelected. And that was the final straw. When she said, okay, I'll give you all of that. What about the wall? Why isn't the wall going up? And that was what did it in for her. And I have said, on this program many times, and I stand behind it. I've done big projects, maybe not that big, but I promise you it's not out of my realm of management skills. I could finish that wall before the end of Trump's term, from coast to coast, from the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. I would finish that wall, the real wall, the total 30-foot wall, and I would do it for free. I would do it for no salary at all. Just leave me on Social Security and cover my expenses. I swear to God, I could finish that wall before Trump's term is up. And I know it's not about the money. I mean, me offering to do it for free is just my vote of confidence. I'm not saying pay me $1 million to build that wall in 3 years. That'd be nice, but that's not what it's about. It's about building the damn wall. And the materials are there. The materials to get started and get a lot of it done are already there. They're already sitting on the ground. They're already manufactured. But nothing has been done. Zero. No concrete, no steel, no nothing. And that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene said, you know what? I still have a life I can live. I'm out of here. I've given you the best that I can give, and you won't budge. So I quit. And she's not the first, and she will not be the last. I don't blame her at all. No, I don't think she'll turn against President Trump. I think she's just saying, it appears that way, but I think she's just saying, you said you were going to build the wall. That's why I invested my time. That's why I stood behind you. That's why I called to vacate the Speaker of the House, because he wasn't doing anything. And now it's not getting done. And I'm pissed. And you know what? My constituents are pissed, and we're not alone. I'm totally with you, Marjorie. I'm totally with you. I'd love to have lunch with you sometime, dinner with you. I would love to discuss these things. But I swear to God, I could finish that wall before the end of Trump's first term, or before the end of his term. Vance would not have to build the wall. It would be done. So let's get started. What do you say? Let's get started. That's all I'm saying. I don't have any football predictions. No, I would like the Panthers to keep winning because they're my team. But, it's kind of like the Browns. The Browns will always let you down, whatever it is. I don't see anything else really quick. I think Scott Bessent's doing a great job. And I think Marco Rubio, not been a big fan of his as a senator, not been a big fan of his as a politician, period. But as Secretary of State, I think he's really found his own. He's really doing a fine job. And I strongly support Marco Rubio and what he's doing right now. I don't know if he would run for president again, and I don't know that I would support him. I think Vance is much more dynamic and a better debater and more real than Rubio is. Rubio is a bunch of sound bites. He's so smart. He's so smart, and he memorizes stuff so well. These little mini speeches. He's almost unstoppable when it comes to that. But he is not the statesman that Ted Cruz is. He's not the dynamic leader that Vance is. It's going to take a team. I don't have time to get into it. I was going to talk about the Ukraine peace deal, but I don't have time to get into it. We're out of time. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for being with me tonight. This is America Free Radio. My name is Brooks Agnew, and I've been your host for the last 2 hours. Like, share, hit the pound button, whatever it is, to help us grow. And we'll see you on Sunday night right here on America Free Radio.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.